Bitcoin's built on blockchain, and blockchain's going to change everything, and you need to learn about it. So that was my moment. I was interested in the underlying technology more than the Bitcoin.
Okay.
How is Web3 or Metaverse relevant for healthcare? And then moving on to education and government and other kinds of services that are going to actually be helpful to people. What I'm able to do is bridge that gap between the technology and the people who kind of run the legacy systems of the world.
Hello and welcome to Voice of Crypto, and today we have Dr. Jane Thomason with us at Zebu Live. So welcome on the podcast, Dr. Jane.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
So Dr. Jane, this is a question which I ask all of my guests, that do you remember that accident/incident which made you get into Web3? Because I'm sure you never planned to get into Web3. We were kids. There was no Web3 as well. So do you remember that specific incident?
I totally remember it so clearly, because what happened was back in 2010, my son had told me to buy Bitcoin and I completely ignored him. Then he came back in 2016 and he goes, "Mum, did you buy Bitcoin when I told you to?" And I said, "No." And by 2016, it was really worth something. And he said, "Now listen, Bitcoin's built on blockchain, and blockchain's going to change everything, and you need to learn about it." So that was my moment to just start exploring this and trying to understand it.
Good. So it took almost 6 years to first hearing about Bitcoin and then finally purchasing it.
Well, no, I didn't purchase it. I just learned about it because I was interested in the underlying technology more than the Bitcoin.
Correct.
So I think I bought my first Bitcoin. It took me another year before I bought any Bitcoin, and I bought some Ethereum too. But yeah, I was never really driven by the crypto. I was more driven by the technology.
And what has been your background before this Web3 avatar?
Healthcare. It had nothing to do with technology. Okay. So I'd worked for a long time in international healthcare, mainly in developing countries throughout Asia and the Pacific. And I worked for WHO and I worked for all of the big agencies. So my knowledge had nothing to do with technology. But what I did know was the challenges for people in countries like India and Indonesia and Africa and places not connected to the economic system, no identity, victims of fake drugs, farmers who can't get reasonable prices for their goods in supply chains. So it was all of those things. And when I connected that with what blockchain could do, that's why I got excited about it.
So from healthcare to blockchain, Web3, and now Metaverse, how has the transition been?
Well, it's been absolutely fantastic. So when I started, I had a belief that this was a powerful technology. I didn't know. I just felt it. And I felt like I wanted to get behind it and find the projects that were doing the interesting work. And then, that's the journey. So 2017, that was the ICOs and all of the hype and excitement about that. And actually, my daughter got a job with the biggest ICO, Block 1 EOS, 4.2 billion they raised. And so she was doing all their community building and all of their events. So I learned so much about the network effect and how you do that. And then I'm pretty sure it was 2017, we saw CryptoKitties with the NFTs, and then DeFi during the pandemic, and then Web3, Metaverse. It's just a very exciting journey. But I'm always looking for utility. So in fact, my healthcare background has been relevant because now I'm saying, okay, how is blockchain relevant for healthcare? How is Web3 or Metaverse relevant for healthcare? And then moving on to education and government and other kinds of services that are going to actually be helpful to people. So I'm much more on the utility side than I am on the fun side, but I'm not against fun. Correct.
And I mean, I'm assuming you are not from a tech background.
No, absolutely not.
So a lot of people who come into crypto, who hear about blockchain, they feel or they get scared because they feel there's a lot of technology. So from somebody who's not from a tech background, how has been experience been? And do everybody needs to understand the underlying effect of the technology, or it's, as you rightly said, the utility? So what's your view on that?
Well, I think it depends on what they want to do. So what I did was I went to blockchain conferences, but where I learnt the most was at hackathons. So I used to go to hackathons because that's where the developers are sitting around solving the problems, telling you what you can do and not do. I learnt so much through that. But basically, I think once you've got an underlying understanding of the technology, then you don't need to think about that anymore. You just think about the real life application. So most people don't need to know what a blockchain can do for you. They just need to know what's the utility of the product that you're offering them. So, you would hear this many times. It's like the internet. I've got no idea how it works, but I know how to use it. So, I think, and I've often said we have to stop talking about blockchain because that just puts people off. We just need to say, I've got this really cool new app and this is what it can do for you.
Yeah, stop using jargons, dApps, blockchain, smart contract. People don't understand this.
No, they don't.
Correct. And so what are you currently working on? What is that you have been working on from a very long time?
Well, I just finished recently a book on Web3 because what I try and do is kind of simplify the knowledge that I've gained and put it in a digestible form for people. So over the last 10 weeks, I've started a newsletter and I'm summarising my chapters, which are quite detailed and it's more like an academic text, and just putting it out so people can read about all the different aspects of Web3 in a simple way. So that's what I'm working on at the moment. But also, I'm very interested in following and driving all the developments that are happening in Web3 and immersive technologies. So, you're aware of the World Metaverse Council, and we started that up to really create a place where people could come together, collaborate, learn. We could share the latest developments in the tech and make people aware of some of the risks as well. And so, I'm very involved in continuing to do that, and I have a lot of conversations with projects and understanding what they're doing and how good is the tech yet and all of those sorts of things. And then, for me, I think what I'm able to do is bridge that gap between the technology and the people who kind of run the legacy systems of the world and help them understand what it is and why it might be relevant for them.
Correct. So we all know about World Metaverse Council. How did the idea come into your head? What is the vision? What you're trying to build, and how has the traction been?
Amazing is the answer to the traction. How it came about was we were at a Metaverse conference in Slovenia about a year ago, and we were all standing around, and one of the Slovenians said, "Oh, we want to start a World Metaverse Council." And I said, "Oh, that's a great idea. Let's do it. But we need a manifesto or something." So I actually wrote we call it the Bled Declaration. And then we announced it and signed it. And then it was sort of like, okay, what do we do now? So I said, let's get our first 100 founding members. But that's the point that we became really quite overwhelmed because we would have got 100 members in less than a week. And then, within a month it was 1,000, and now it's many thousands and hundreds of countries. But for me, what's exciting is the connection and collaboration between people. They're saying, who knows about this? I do. Let's work together. And we've got little groups all working together on interesting projects. And, I can just see the vibrancy in the group. And for me, that's the most exciting thing is connecting people, knowing people, being able to reach out and say, hey, who wants to work on this? Who knows about this?
Good.
So it's like a distributed knowledge network, and I think that's really exciting.
I like this term, distributed knowledge network. We are also a proud member of VoicesOfWeb3 is also a proud member of World Metaverse Council. So it's so happy. It's so glad to meet you in person as well. And how does the future? So what is your vision? How World Metaverse Council is going to evolve? What are you doing? What you guys are working on currently?
Well, again, my view is this is a distributed network, and I think it's up to the members. What I had in my own mind, and this is not necessarily in everyone's mind, is that you're basically activating people. So the next thing for me should be the country chapters, because we've got loads of people from, Pakistan, India, Kenya, Nigeria, and other countries, and just say, okay, one of you, let's start the World Metaverse Network chapter in a country and kind of get it going, because I think it does two things. One is we're not the people who have all the knowledge. The knowledge is being built and generated all around the world. And I find it super interesting because how people in Pakistan, for example, are approaching the metaverse is really different than how they're approaching it in Silicon Valley, because they're thinking low infrastructure, lack of access, big need, big social need. So they think about it differently. So for me, kind of getting these country groups going and then allowing them to learn from everywhere else, because I think we can all exchange and learn and create. So, I don't have a massive vision of taking over the metaverse world, but it's just that sharing and getting people learning from each other that I think is so exciting.
Correct. No, I completely agree with you, is that it's just a technology, how people want to use it. I mean, just to give an incident, my mother is 8 years old. First time when I showed her a metaverse, the first thing which she said is, can I go to a pilgrimage using metaverse?
Yes.
And I realized that this is a real use case, because maybe she cannot walk on a mountain, but this is the first thing which they are seeing. So you rightly said, I think healthcare, education are something which metaverse has a real case utility as well. And I'm sure World Metaverse Council will work towards that, and we all will grow. A lot of our listeners are new entrepreneurs who are getting into Web3. So what would be your advice to these people who are getting into Web3 metaverse?
Well, look, I think the first thing is just start going to events, get to know people in the community. It's a very welcoming community. That's my experience. And depending on what you want to do, whether you want to be a founder and you've got an idea, connect with people. They're going to help you find an accelerator or find a funder or find a co-founder. So I think it's like, don't be scared. Don't worry about being perfect, because every startup starts with an idea, and by the time they ever get successful, they've got a completely different strategy. And it's just like, get out there and have a go, because you'll never know. And I think that's the thing. You fail, you succeed. At least you're going to know, and at least you had a go.
Correct. So yeah, I mean, that's I mean, anything else which you would like to give a message to our listeners, people who are watching this?
Look, I think because there's a lot of excitement at the moment about AI and the future of work, and will we have jobs or won't we have jobs? I think that my analogy is we're at that point where our ancestors discovered fire. It was this amazing thing. It was going to help humankind do a whole lot of things they never could do before, but it was incredibly dangerous as well. It could burn down entire cities. And so I think that we're really there. We've got this fantastic tool or set of tools. There's dangers associated with them. We need to be thinking, how do we harness this for the betterment of humankind, for the betterment of the planet? So I just encourage people not to listen to all of the doomsdayers and people like that, and just like get in there. We've got these amazing opportunities. Let's see what we can do with them.
And what are your predictions for 2023, 2024 bull market, bear market? What do you think, or you're not even bothered about that?
Well, I mean, no, I mean, I'm the chair of a digital asset investment company here in London, so I should be bothered about it. But I feel it's going to come back. I feel like we've had all of the disasters over the last 18 months or so, which is good because it's kind of cleaned out a lot of rubbish, and this happens. The people who are serious, they're continuing to build. There's some great projects around. We're still seeing the institutional investors coming in. All the banks, they might be coming in from an efficiency point of view, but they're coming in. So I think we're going to see a lot of positive development. So
we all are going to make it is your mantra as well.
Well, look, I believe so, and I hope so. So that's what I said. I don't know if it's my heart or my head, but, I think so.
Amazing, Jane. Thank you for coming on the podcast, and we wish all the best to World Metaverse Council and to you. And yeah, looking forward for more meetings.